Hey there creatives, and welcome to today's video. So today we are going to be playing with a technique that I love, and that is using alcohol inks on your gel press plate. So you can see I'm using some alcohol inks and just maneuvering it all over my plate. Now this is the large format 12 by 14 gel press plate, and the reason I'm using this larger format is because we're actually going to be using it to make Rolodex cards for scriptures or quotes, whatever you want. So what I like to do, instead of using tons and tons of alcohol ink, I like to add a little bit of just rubbing alcohol sprayed on, and I feel like it helps move my inks around my plate a little better. And then you also don't have to use as much alcohol ink in order to cover all the surfaces. So I put one layer down, add a spray of my alcohol ink, and then use my little blower there and use it to just kind of maneuver around. I just realized it's super funny since my plate is so clear, there appears to be like some letter stickers underneath it. So there's a big old E right in the middle of my plate, which is hilarious. I just noticed that. So you can see by adding that extra alcohol ink in there, it's allowing me to maneuver and blend those alcohol inks without using extra product and tons of product. Because if you've ever used a lot of alcohol ink, you know as it starts to dry, it can actually get tacky and sometimes your paper will stick to it. So having that spray bottle of alcohol ink handy is definitely a lifesaver and a product saver because you don't have to use as much. So now I'm just filling in spots that I felt were kind of missing some color, and I'll definitely leave these color names down below in case you're wanting to know which colors of alcohol ink I'm using. Now the big thing is to let this ink completely dry before we move on to our next step. So since this month is all about Carabelle, I am using a Carabelle texture stamp that I love. I don't know the name of it right offhand, but I'll make sure to put that below for you guys. And what that's doing is that's actually picking up the dried ink off of our gel press plate in those places where the design was. So we're almost making like a negative impression and lifting the ink up. And then you can go back in places where you want to lift a little bit more, just randomly press the texture pad back into it. And you can already see like some of the cool patterns and textures that doing that allows us to get in that dry alcohol ink. Now the next step is we want to take our brayer, and I usually like to prefer to use like a white or really light color acrylic paint because it allows all those colors that I've just put down to really pop. And the goal is to keep this layer really light. What this is going to do is it's going to act like a glue to lift our alcohol ink up off our plate and attach it to whatever our substrate is, which in this case is these little Rolodex cards that I actually found on Amazon. So I am just placing them down just kind of randomly, and you're going to see what's great about this is I'm actually putting some paper down to kind of give me something to touch and feel. And what you're going to see about this project is it's going to give us similar textures and colors, but every card is going to be completely different. So it's really great for having a series maybe that you're doing of ATCs or cards, or in this place Rolodex cards that are similar but not exact. And look how cool these kind of ghost print extra prints are. Those are going to be super fun to add to something later because of that imprint of those Rolodex cards. So now I'm just peeling all of those off. And if you have any spot, like I missed a spot that maybe had like didn't quite cover up the little Rolodex logo or something. Look how cool that is. So you've got the color, you've got the texture, all of those alcohol inks have kind of naturally blended. And you can see as I'm flipping them over that they're all similar enough so they look like they go together, but different enough that it doesn't look like I just regurgitated the same image over and over and over. Here's a still shot of all of them together, and I am absolutely in love with them. I think they are so cool. So we're going to go in with another Carabelle product. It is a stencil. And I'm actually going to use a little 3x5 gel press plate as my kind of palette. And this is actually some black gesso from the Crafter's Workshop. And I'm using that stencil and a makeup sponge to just kind of randomly add these dots and such to my little cards here to start creating my background. And I think the black really pops off of those bright colors that I chose to use. And I love this stencil. It's super fun, right? It's got some big dots, some little dots. And so you can kind of pick and choose which areas you want to use. I just think these are fun. I love them. They made me happy, and that's all that matters, right? Art is supposed to make us happy. And since I put that black gesso on my gel press plate, I can actually take my little scraper, scrape up my extra, and put it back in my little jar to save for later. So here's a really cool bonus that we get from doing this particular project. This is my spray bottle of alcohol ink, and because we used alcohol ink on and lifted it from our gel press plate, it's still sitting on that rubber texture plate. So by adding a little bit of alcohol, we're actually reactivating it, and I'm actually putting it in my Delusions journal. So I have this really cool alcohol ink background that's ready and waiting for me to use down the road. So that's a bonus to doing this this particular technique using alcohol inks. So I'm just going to go in now and just add some fun. This is a really cool, some more stamps from Carabelle, which I'll list below, and some white pigment ink from Brutus Monroe. And I just think it's adding some pop just for a few more touches. And that is how I used my large format plate to make a ton of small Rolodex cards. You can see here's my little Rolodex. I absolutely love it. I also added some glitter because everything's better with glitter. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had tons of fun and were inspired, and I will see you guys next time.